Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Humza Yousaf must be a very worried man today. He's seen the direction of travel. He's seen the way the wind is blowing, and the wind isn't blowing in his direction. Far from it. He saw just last month the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election result, which showed a massive 20-odd% swing to Labour from the SNP. People are deserting the party in droves. They're going another way. And he knows that his time is soon to be up, because if this continues, there's no way the party will stick with him. But it is not really a surprise, is it? He's got about as much personal charm as a cancerous tumour. But we'll have a look at this poll results that have come up today, because there's something far deeper in there. Something that must be completely worrying, not just for Humza Yousaf, but for all of those in the upper echelon of the SNP. And it is marvellous to behold, and it will absolutely split the SNP vote. Labour are likely to win by a huge margin. Here goes. So Humza Yousaf heading for punishing Westminster defeat as Labour extend their lead in Scotland. And it's not surprising, really, is it? He's just not got the leadership there. And it is, when we look at these numbers, it is way worse than the headline figures suggest. And we'll get to them in a moment. But drilling into these numbers is not good. He is a very worried man. And the people around him will be very worried because they know that they've picked as a leader a man who's going to lead them into opposition. Anas Sarwar's party is on track to pick up more seats in Scotland at Westminster than the SNP, in what would be a humiliating first election challenge for the First Minister. Rutherglen and Hamilton West notwithstanding. That technically is first election, but that didn't go entirely according to plan, did it, Humza? Massive swing. And so that was the direction of travel, and it is pretty damn bad. Anyway, Humza Yousaf is heading for a bleak Westminster election defeat as Labour extend their lead over the Nationalists according to new polling. The Scottish Election Study, the SES, found that 38% of Scots say they will vote for Anas Sarwar's party compared with just 32% for the SNP. Now, that in itself is pretty bad. That is a pretty bad result from a party, remember, that was massively supported, but, by way more people than the opposition's combined. Where has all the love gone? SES researcher Dr. Fraser McMillan highlighted that these new results reinforce the impression that we've been getting for most of this year, that Scottish voters are ready to punish the SNP and the Conservatives, with both parties having spent a long time in power at Holyrood and Westminster, respectively. And then there's a lot of that. Oftentimes you find that sometimes you find that people don't vote for something. They will quite often vote against something on the hope that whatever changes will be a change for the better. And that is definitely what is happening. And it's certainly happened with the Tories. So they've been in there 13 years. And they've not, after 13 years, they're kind of running out of steam, running out of ideas. And then, you think a little bit of time on the opposition benches will improve their outlook and give them some fresh ideas. Certainly they need some fresh meat. There's very little talent left in the Conservative Party. And unfortunately, there's no talent at all in the Labour Party. We seem to be in a very sort of big desert of talent in terms of politics at the moment. Anyway, ever since Mr Yousaf took over from Nicola Sturgeon, his party has been tanking in the polls as the Nationalists' poor record in government has come to the forefront. He's already suffered a humiliating defeat in Rutherglen and Hamilton West, as mentioned, after they failed to win a seat and losing more than a 20% swing to Labour. Now, we're going to drill in here, and this is where it starts getting weird and worrying. You see, one of the things Anas Sarwar done is he's kept his mouth firmly shut. He hasn't divided his loyalty. He hasn't divided his base. People who, the disaffected of the Tories and the SNP, have come to Labour simply because Anas Sarwar has not offended them, because he's kept his mouth shut. And when he has needed things to go out and be done, of course, he sends Jackie Baillie. She's the attack dog of Labour, and she does a brilliant job. I actually quite like Jackie Baillie. I'll be honest. Not necessarily of politics, just Jackie Baillie herself just comes across actually quite a decent person. She's one of the few, I think, that you could sort of describe that way. in either parliament, in anywhere, in politics generally, I think. Anyway, and this is, pay attention at the back, class, this is important. Just 55% of those who voted for the SNP at the last general election said they're going to do so again. They've lost nearly half their base. That is incredible. When you're losing nearly half the people who voted for you last time, it's got to be bad. It's got to be devastating for Humza Yousaf to see that his party will be utterly destroyed. But it gets worse. With the Tories earning even less than 55% thinking of joining the Tories or voting for the Tories again, they're sitting at 48%. That is pathetic. And that goes to show that the Tories need to change their leader as well. Now, we're going to see a number here that is astonishing. Pollsters are saying that this is partially due to the weakening connection between support for independence and support for the SNP. And I think, before we get to this, I think this is driven by personality. As in, love her or loathe her, and personally loathe her, Nicola Sturgeon was a strong leader. She had the personality. It was almost a cult of personality in the SNP. But she knew how to play the game. She knew how to keep the troops in order, as it were. Now, you've got a Ken doll who doesn't have the balls to stand up to anyone, who's a bit wishy-washy on every single subject, and does exactly as his green overlords tell him to do. He doesn't have that kind of power and authority stamped on the party, and everyone within and without the party can see it, and they're abandoning it, and they're walking away, and that is half the problem. But here, listen to these numbers. Only 53% of those who said they would vote yes in a second Brexit referendum, so about half the people who, or over half the people who say they want independence and they will vote for independence, said they would vote for the SNP. Just over half of people who want a referendum would vote for the SNP. Now, where else are people who would vote yes, who want independence, going to go? There's only one other party, really. I mean, the Greens say they want independence, but nobody is stupid enough, not even SNP voters, and boy are they stupid, but not even SNP voters are stupid enough to vote for the Greens. And so where do they go? They go in only one direction, don't they? Alex Salmond. He is the only person, if you're a yes voter who can't vote for the SNP, you've only got yourself to blame, but you've only also got one direction to go. Unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, this represents a large decline. This is SESA. This represents a large decline from previous Westminster and Holyrood elections when this number regularly exceeded 80%. So previously, it was over 80% of people who said yes, they wanted independence would vote for the SNP. Now it's down to just barely over half, 53%. That is astonishingly low. Labour are picking up 18% of those who voted Conservative in 2019, as well as 21% of SNP voters and 38% of Lib Dem voters. It seems to be this sort of the event horizon of Labour. People are just falling into this black hole, this gravity well. As Labour grows, its momentum increases, its mass extends, and it's just sucking everything in. This black hole of socialism. I'll finish there. I'm just going to do one last figure that just was sitting there that sort of kind of tells you everything you need to know, and that's Mr Sarwar remains the most popular in Scotland of leaders with 4.3, Yousaf on 4, Tory leader Douglas Ross on 2.7, and Keir Starmer was more liked than Rishi Sunak. Of course, Keir Starmer was at 4.2, Rishi Sunak 2.6. Rishi Sunak is the least favoured of all the leaders in Britain. Anyway, I shall round off there. I shall come up and we shall just sit and laugh, I think, at what's going terribly, terribly wrong in the SNP. And we know it's one man's fault. And, that's it. You've got a tired party led by a stupid man. What do you expect? Anyway, I'm going to round off and come up. So there we go. Not just a failing party, but it can't even keep hold of people who want independence. They would rather vote elsewhere. That goes to show how deep the trouble runs within the SNP when they're not likely to ever form the next government. They're not even likely to even exist. Half their vote has gone. Now, of course, the thing is here, and this is the important thing just about to bear, is if all those people who say they do want independence but they're not going to vote for the SNP, they can only go to, really, Alba, which means that the independent vote is basically ripped asunder. And so a little bit, as I say, a little bit of tactical voting, and the SNP could be out of power completely. Not a single seat at Westminster. None of that lovely Westminster money going to prop up the party in Holyrood. Oh dearie me, they could be hitting bankruptcy any day soon, go straight into administration, do not pass go, do not collect £60,000 a year. That'd be a shame, wouldn't it? Tactical voting, people. Tactical voting. You know it makes sense. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that this has been informative and enlightening and entertaining. And I do hope that you will hit that subscribe button if you are not yet subscribed, and hit the like button, because I like you to hit the like button. It really helps the videos. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, it's not long now and we can start getting these buggers out. Bye.